How good was actually Peeper's footballer of the century, three-time world champion, world record holder, and Brazil record goal scorer? A man who has the player of the century, has shaped the sport over the years. That's a story. But Testo Nascimento came into use in 1940. Brazil gave the world the nickname Pele. He supposedly got it as a school child because it's the name of his favorite footballers. Like Lee are always wrong, has pronounced. Otherwise has the name actually no deeper meaning, grew up in very poor circumstances. Poor that the family doesn't even meet, could afford a football, and he regularly, with a newspaper-filled sock, had to play that boy is a huge talent, he played clearly early on as a 14-year-old indoor soccer against adult men and was better than every single one of. When he was 15, he played for FC Santos. Ego got one straight away, professional contract pressed into the hand, and celebrated its debut in the same year in the first team. What followed? A steep climb. Probably the fastest and steepest rise in football history at 16, already a regular player at Santos. In the same year, he was chosen for the first time, Brazilian national team nominated, and was allowed to go to the World Cup in 1958. He was 17 and sat in the top two, playing on the bench due to injury, not because he was too young and inexperienced. He scored his first World Cup goal in quarterfinal against Wales, followed hat trick against France in the semifinals, and also in the final against the hosts. He hit Sweden twice, especially that first is one of the most legendary of the football story. How he hits the ball air over a defender as smoothly as butter, and then with taste. You still had something like that back then. Never seen celebrated world champion. At 17, national hero, and by far the greatest football talent in the world. All of this at 17, and all of this was just the beginning. The 60s should be one of Pele-marked decade, become international. He continued to score as well as nationally at Santos as he wanted. Like on the assembly line in 1961, thanks to him, they got the first one championship, the same 62, 63, 64, 65. The legend of FC Santos in 68 plus 62 and 63, the Copa Libertadores were able to follow up perfectly. FC Santos had none of these until 2002, win the title again after the gala at his first World Championship, and the outstanding achievements in the club were the expectations of the 21-year-old at the World Cup 62 extremely high. The tournament should be for but him after 2 games because of one injury has already ended, however. He still became a second times world champion after the rest team Czechoslovakia in the final defeated at the subsequent World Cup in 1966, with your star in his prime as a footballer. They wanted to make the triple perfect, but nothing came of Brazil, fouled it out of the tournament. Opponents hardly knew that they were playing a chance against this qualitatively strong teams have their strategy, stop PELE, no matter what the cost result in a variety of hard fouls. The Brazilians had this style, their problems. They lost 2 of their 3 group games, one completely without that second, with a home pills for Pele, and had to come back after the group phase. When we got home frustrated, PD announced, afterwards, never again at a World Cup, wanting to play a decision that is still pending, should be revised 4 years later. He belonged to Brazil for the 4th time, put up, and it should pay off, do this in many positions. Change team, march through the tournament, and Pele in the foreground. He became the 3rd world title. Voted best player of the tournament, scored 4 goals and assisted in the final. There are still 2 more to go against Italy. 3rd world championship title was perfect. And his opponent in the final said, afterwards, I looked before the game, said he's just made of skin and bones like everyone else, but me, I was wrong in the 60s to dominate the Brazilian league. One thing the same, at least 3 different world championships to do another pill, was to his undisputedly the best player of the time, world of course. Football was in the 60s, a completely different, slow, tactically less demanding, but he was far ahead of all his opponents, and not to be stopped, although he is known for the best player of his time, his goals, but he was the most complete striker of his generation, faster, more athletic, and smarter than everyone others. One of the best dribblers in the world, worldwide for himself, and despite him height of just 173, also with dangerous to the head, mentally and in terms of character. He is a very strong team player and a thoroughbred professional. He alone has its sport taken to a whole new level. He was at FC Santos for 19 seasons. There was interest from top European clubs, it in abundance. There was probably even a contract in 1958. They gave it to Inter Milan. There were protests from Brazilian fans were just too big, and he stayed anyway. He only moved to his homeland in 1975. At 34, the club for the first time and went to the USA to the New York Cosmos in his third and final season. He, the team on the side of under other Franz Beckenbauer, even too. However, the championship ended, then his career, the impressive results of today. 79-year-old, 650 league goals in 694 games, and receives it 1,281 goals, set an official world record. However, there are all sorts of them. Matches are taken into account, for example, also in official friendly matches. What do you say? Too many write in the comments, and let's think about it direct. And of course, also subscribe.